Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the show, where we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs. It's your host, Stephen Schmidt, and I'm back at it again. If you're listening for the second, third, or 100th time, you know you're about to get a ton of value. And if you're listening for your first time, I assure you you're going to get a ton of value, and this is probably going to get added to your regularly listened to podcasts docket. Just remember, before we get started, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their business in order to build the businesses they've always wanted so they can live the lives they've always dreamed of. And with that being said, I got Schuyler Brown in the studio today. Schuyler is the mobile home park mogul, and we're going to go into how that plays out and what he's got going on. He's got an extensive background outside of just real estate, but he is an absolute business junkie. From the pre-show conversation that we were able to have, started buying apartment complexes back in 2008. Now he's rocking and rolling with mobile home parks, and he is actually currently the largest mobile home park dealer in the entire region of America. So we're going to roll right into it and have a great conversation with Schuyler. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Steven. Thanks for having me, man.
You bet. I'm excited for our conversation. I know you and I are going to be friends for a long time, which I don't say to everybody when we get on here. But, man, give us a little bit of background, Schuyler. Give us a little bit on how you got to where you're at today. What got you started in the real estate space? I know this business is, a business that you've taken ownership of, and you're growing and scaling it to new heights and new dreams and all that. So just kind of, if you could encapsulate all that, take as long as you want. Tell us, for our listeners' sake, how you got where you're at today.
Yeah, for sure, Steven. So actually, it's the story, I guess, based on that intro, starts back in, let's say, more 2014, 2015. So something we didn't talk about is I'm a lawyer by trade, and I went to law school, and during an internship, I just decided I was going to go real heavy into podcasts and books. One summer, I was living out in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, working at a real famous law firm out there, and I was cruising around the Grand Tetons in my truck, just listening to podcast after podcast, book after book, just looking at the beautiful Tetons, outside of Jackson Hole. And one book that really just flipped everything upside down was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I've heard about that book for years, but I never read the book. I never listened to the book. So I listened to that on Audible, and it's ruined me ever since. So I listened to that book repeatedly that summer, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and really just completely changed my mind on business and I think what I was going to do with my life. I still went up and finished my law degree, but during that time, I was studying more about real estate than I think I was actually law. I still decided to go practice law, but my very first year of practicing law, I bought my first apartment building. I had never bought a piece of real estate ever before. and I bought a 26-unit apartment my first year practicing law.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And that was actually 2018, I think it was. And one thing I talked to my then girlfriend at the time is, hey, we're not going to get engaged or married until we buy our first apartment. And she believed in me. She believed in our future together. And she said, let's do it. So we started looking. We found one. It was a 26-unit apartment complex, really a C minus class in the hood in Jacksonville, and went straight to the owner. He was kind of sent to me by a friend of mine because I was looking for deals, and connect with the owner. It was a mom and pop operator. He was burnt out, classic story. And we shook hands and closed the deal. Fixed that up over 18 months, sold it, and then 1031 exchanged into a 42-unit apartment. Found that one by literally knocking on doors. Knocked on a door of this older lady in a part of Jacksonville. Went to her home. My wife and I went to her home on a Saturday morning and said, hey, we're apartment owners around the corner from you. Do you want to sell? And she said, get the heck out of my off my porch. Get out of here. I don't know who you are. But we stayed in contact. I would cold call her. I got her number just on Google. I would send her a care package via Amazon for Thanksgiving. And I just started building up this relationship and started building up that rapport and trust. And I never forget the day I was in my car driving back to the law office I was working at and called her, just checking in, right? Checking in, following up. And she's like, hey, Schuyler, how'd you know to call me? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I'm ready to sell. And at this point, Steven, I'm in the middle of a 1031. You got 45 days to identify a property, and the stars aligned, closed that deal, fixed that up, sold that after another 18 months, and cashed out in June of 2022. Between the two properties plus cash flow that I always saved, in the bank, we netted, before taxes, but netted a little over $2 million. And then took that and bought the business that we're in today. 2.5 years ago, we bought the business 2.5 years ago, and it's the largest manufactured home resale brokerage in America. So that's what really brings us here to today, and how I got started in this journey.
That might be one of the most incredible synopsises. That's probably not the right way to say that word, but I'll fix it later. Probably one of the best synopsis of somebody's experience I've heard on the show. Is to the point, but totally made sense. I guess I got to point out one mistake for myself, which is that I said 2008 was when you bought the apartment complex, because that's what I heard in the pre-show. And then I was wondering where the decade of time went between that and 2018. But I guess, so this has all really happened for you in the last 7 years that you've been really pursuing the real estate stuff and just basically taking the money, systematizing it into something else, and that's led you really where you're at today based on that introduction and everything that you mentioned there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's 2018. We bought our first property, and ever since then, trying to find a way to get out of the day-to-day grind of the law practice. And once we sold the building, the first one, we realized, we made some good money. We 1031'd in. To the second one, my wife and I realized, hey, we're making more money working for ourselves as a side hustle. What if we do this full time, all in on a business? So, we had to get to that point once we sold our second second property. But that's what we've been focused on ever since. And that's really what brings us, where we're at today, brings us to the business. But really just taking that same mindset of buying a property, kind of looking at the value add component of it, executing on that business plan, and then selling And that's kind of what our goal is with our current business is, hey, there's a big opportunity.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
It's been around since 1982. They only went so far, but there's a massive opportunity in front of us. So let's scale it, add value, add systems and processes, make it a repeatable business because it really isn't. It just things kind of come and go. But we're trying to add in some mechanisms to kind of pull those levers to make it predictable, or what I call an insurance policy for the business, and looking to grow it and then potentially sell it in future.
So is that the long-term goal with you with what you're working on now is to eventually sell what you're currently doing?
I do. Yeah, I definitely want to sell it. I don't know when that time horizon is, but definitely that's the goal is to sell it at one day, make some money, right? That's the goal, and then do it again. And I got a 3.5-year-old son, almost 18-month-old daughter, and I never really got the opportunity to work with my parents. So to be able to do something and create kind of not so much a family business, but it really is a family business where they can join in if they chose to, would be a dream of mine. So that's kind of the goal is to build it and then just keep doing that, teach them those skills, develop those skills, and do that with them.
Now, what portion, there's going to be further context for this question later on in the show, but what portion of the law did you study? What was your specialty?
Yeah, totally different than what I've ever been involved in. I was a glorified ambulance chaser. So I did personal
Okay.
injury. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
personal injury, slip and falls, car crashes, uh, you know, foreign objects found in food, causing surgery, kind of crazy stuff like that. So that's what
Right.
I did in the law
Yeah.
practice. You'd think I was, working at a title company or real estate law, little real estate litigation, but I didn't do anything like that. But it's funny. I have friends that are in that industry, but yet they don't do real estate on the side to make money or invest, I should say. So, but that's what I was doing.
Yeah, I actually had a feeling it wasn't anything in relation, but like for example, I actually hilariously enough interviewed a general contractor who's a developer out in California a couple weeks back, and he ended up telling me he went to law school in his 40s just so that way he could understand the law better. And so he went to law school, passed the bar, and then never swore in
Yeah,
because he had no intention of being a lawyer. He was like, I just wanted to know how to read the law, and it's crazy out here in California. And it's like, what are the
yeah.
chances? That's hilarious. But I had a feeling of that, but still, with that background, I mean, going and pursuing something like that, obviously, working in the business as a lawyer for a while, there's skills and disciplines that you picked up along the way that I'm sure have majorly helped you in negotiations and actually looking at the numbers in a proper way and actually being able to buy the business the right way, which is where the context comes in now. Is you're almost a hybrid of investor versus also business operator. What's been kind of the biggest thing you've learned in the past? Let's take it as the last 7 years that have allowed you to make the right decisions when it comes to a deal in general.
Well, I think some of the things that I haven't done a good job is being patient. I think being patient is a big one. Staying true to uh, your buyer profile, your buyer box, right? What's your ideal box? And I think when you stray from that, you can kind of get in trouble. So I've definitely experienced that firsthand at times with different investments. But you know, I will say this. I don't know if there's anything that you can't learn outside of law or law school that any lawyer does. Maybe you just have, reps, right? Time at bat so many times that you kind of picked it up more than somebody that's not doing that on a daily basis. But I don't know if there's anything that like that gentleman that's awesome story. I mean, props to him, but I don't think there's anything that he if you just took the time and talked to enough people and kind of studied certain areas. I don't know if you had to go to law school necessarily to do that. But I think it's just kind of time at bat, reps, reps in the gym, right? So same kind of thing.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
But I think, one lesson I think is, again, you can pull this out of read negotiation books, um, Chris Voss, right? Never split the difference, but the concept of anchoring. And if you're negotiating, right, on a personal injury lawyer, we're going to anchor high, because we want a high settlement or high, get a high number, whether it's from an insurance adjuster or a jury at trial. The same thing goes when you're trying to buy a property. Yeah, you can do the underwriting and make sure the numbers pencil out, but my philosophy is I want to anchor low. That's not necessarily low ball, but like anchor low and try to back that up. And wherever you end up, if you can anchor somewhere, I think you can always get a better deal. Whether you're selling a property, right, anchor high, or buying a property, anchoring low. Because what happens is it's psychology where you're going to condition the other person to a number, because they're going to think, oh, that's a great deal or it's a bad deal or it's too high, it's too low, whatever. But once you get to the number that, everyone has their number they're going to sell at, everyone has the number they're going to buy at. The other side just doesn't know that number. So if you condition someone on the other side and you're going to get them to the number that you're either going to transact at, either a buyer or a sell, they don't know that that's a number that you're willing to pay anyway. So I think just conditioning the number by anchoring, I think, is something that we really learned as a plaintiff's attorney in personal injury. But again, you can get that, I think, doing deals every day.
Right.
You
Doing
know,
deals. I mean, even sales training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like classic sales funnel training. Well, the price is this, and then somebody gives flack, and it's like, well, now it's this. And it's like, well, how many times do we play this game
Yeah.
until we get you where you want to go and what your bottom number that you'd be willing to sell at, right? So I totally
Sure.
understand
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So
So I think psychology plays a big part in that. Just conditioning, I think, the other person.
100%,
Not like you're playing games, but it's the truth.
right? 100%. Now, so tell us a little bit about day to day for you right now. What does that look like? Where are you going? What's real big on the radar for the next 6 to 12 months for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm currently the CEO of our company. It's called Four Star Homes. And I have a COO I brought on beginning of this year. So I was truly operating it with kind of a management team before, more of on sales manager type of roles. But I brought on a COO to kind of help take some of the day to day away from me, so I can focus more, really in the visionary items. So we have started processing or implementing EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. So if you're familiar, anyone's listening is familiar, you got that visionary role and the integrator role, right? And I'm truly a visionary. I am not an integrator at all. I've taken assessments of myself and I have just completely bombed them. I've failed them. I am not set out to be an integrator or a true day-to-day operator. I'm more big picture, visionary, and then let's go get a team member. We can go put that in place and run with that. So I've got some of the day-to-day off, but I'm thinking more like strategy, long-term, really focusing heavy on where the company can go, mapping it out, whether that's via the org chart, finding out who we need to hire next. So one of the things we talked about, I think, before we started is we're getting ready to bring on a full-time recruiter. And where we're at 150 agents now, we want to go to 1,000 sales agents, that are listing and selling mobile and manufactured homes for us. and kind of building out that process. So we can't just bring on a recruiter and we're going to get there, right? We're not gonna, that's not going to happen. But how do we get his calendar filled? So we're looking at, building out a cold email campaign. Right now, we're looking at doing 45,000 cold emails a month. I mean, we could ramp that up to 100, 200,000 a month. Building out different funnels really to fill his calendar full. But, then we get all these people, right? We get all these agents, but then how do we onboard them? How do we support them? How do we train them? The whole team is 1099s. We're all remote. It's very difficult to kind of support and manage from afar. So then it's like, hey, how do we focus on the operations and onboarding and support with that? So we're talking about building that out. So, our focus right now is, working on trying to build out an LMS, learning management system right now, that we can run all the 8 new recruits or agents through to learn the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals of what we do at 4-star homes, and right, the business itself, because you have the 4-star homes, the business, we got our culture, our mission, our values, where we're going. But what about how do you do the day to day? Well, how do you list a home? How do you sell a home? How do you get a customer to wire us money? All those little things where we need to build that out to a very robust online training platform, so we get you from zero to hero as quickly as possible. So, focusing my time on that, strategizing, building that out. Sometimes it's time behind the camera, you know, uh, just retooling videos, instructional videos that we're going to put in this LMS system. So that's where a lot of my time is spent right now.
So let me ask you this, because I love how you put that in terms of you being like just hardcore visionary. I'm the same exact way, by the way. Those integrators are lifesavers. That's all I can say about that. But one of the questions that's piqued my own curiosity here is you go to 1,000 agents, right? Where do you get all the inventory? If you're a broker, like there's got to be some form of a relationship of how you're onboarding properties to be sold as well, too, right? Like if you could snap your fingers as a visionary, which we almost always wish we could do, and it could happen tomorrow, would you have enough inventory for them to sell, or like how would that work? How does that work in tandem?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's estimated right now that there are, I think it's about 25,000 manufactured homes across Florida. Don't hold me to these stats, but
Yeah, no
I
problem.
think about 25,000 homes on leased land. Um, I think, yeah, scratch that. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. But by and large, we'll scratch that part. But
Okay.
there's about 10 to 12,000 I know that transition or transact annually. I will say that there's 10 to 12,000 that transact annually. It's difficult to get the true number because all these homes are titled through the DMV because they're on leased land, and the only one that has that information is really the DMV.
That's hilarious.
Unlike real estate, where all that information you can get in a snap of your fingers through the MLS. You can pull all the reports in the MLS, but it's a little bit more difficult to get that. But based on some of the information I've gathered, it's about 10 to 12,000 transact. Um, but really, at the end of the day, Stephen, we're no different than a normal real estate brokerage. We just specialize in manufactured homes on leased land. So our agents, our 1,000 agents, they're out there just like any other realtor is. And let me just tell you, there are 220,000 licensed realtors in the state of Florida. They're out there every day pounding on doors trying to get their listing, fight for their listing, right? So to get 1,000 agents that are selling manufactured homes, it is no different than being a licensed realtor where they are out there, going on, if they're starting from scratch, right? Going on meet and greets, dropping off coffee and donuts at communities, handing out business cards, holding open houses. If they don't have their own listing, they can go hold an open house for another 4-star listing with another agent to generate traffic. But by doing that, Stephen, they're going to get known in the communities. They're going to get recognized in the communities. And the community themselves, it's a tight-knit community. They're going to say, hey, this agent's working, that agent's not. I'm calling that agent to come represent me during the next time I sell my home. Or maybe they got a cousin that's moving to Florida from Michigan where it's cold and they want to get out of the snow. And they're like, hey, you need to call this agent at 4-star Homes because they're always working the community. They're going to work hard for you. So it's not so much an issue of trying to find the inventory, but it's just like traditional real estate where they're out there listing homes, right? So these are in communities across the state uh, on leased land, and there's probably I think there's over 5,000 communities across the state. So some communities have 2,000 homes in them. One community has 2,000 homes, all the way to, your small kind of, it's called trailer park, 10, 20 homes. But we really focus on 55 and up communities with amenities. You can get a $25,000 home in a gated neighborhood, pool, tennis court, mini golf, tiki hut at the pool, clubhouse, billiards room, and this is a home you can pay 25,000 for. Now you have a lot rent associated with that. That covers all those amenities, but at the end of the day, you can get in fairly inexpensively, and that's why it's a great option for affordable housing in America. The average price today in 2025 is probably, I think it's 416,000 or 419,000, and our average sale price over thousands of transactions is 70,000. So you can get a lot for your money when it comes to it.
Which,
Uh,
especially in a state like Florida, where, I mean, I messed up, man. I have four, well, I did, but I'm blessed at the same time. I got four kids, okay? So, like, a house that's going to fit all us out in Florida when we move back there, I'm already pushing 600 grand to
yeah,
have something big enough
no
in a
doubt.
good enough area. You know what I mean? Then it's like, why did I do this to myself? You know what I mean? No more 2 and 3 bedroom houses for us, right?
Yeah, for sure. You can get, you said you're in Texas, right? You can get a lot in Texas.
Yeah, Kansas actually, I can get even more here,
Oh,
but
Kansas? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, our median is like 280, 290, so it's a lot lower. But yeah, Florida is an incredible place, and I mean to be able to get into a place, especially for like retirees, like you mentioned, 55 plus, to be able to stretch the dollar so much more on where you're actually going to live, it's just an incredible deal all the way around. If you had to go back to the beginning when you first got started with all this, you started buying the apartments, and then where you're at now, and maybe even if you had to go back to when you started on this new venture here a few years back in the taking over of Four Star, what would you do different, and what would you do the same, knowing what you know today?
It definitely would have figured out a way to get in rooms quicker and bigger rooms. It's not a matter of how I can do something, it's a matter of who do I need to talk to. So I think getting in the right rooms with the right people, more people that have done what I want to do, they've already accomplished that, they've made the mistakes, and trying to learn from their mistakes, I think is what I probably would have done earlier. I know in real estate, let's say for real estate, I had never raised money. I did it all on my own, just kind of um, being scrappy, right? Being scrappy, and also scraping by to be able to buy these units. And I think getting right in the right rooms is huge, right? Getting in the right rooms, talking to people, getting mentors or paying for coaches, I think is invaluable. Um, LeBron James has a coach, Tiger Woods has a coach. Well, you want to go raise $10 million to go buy a $30 million apartment? Why don't you go hire a coach that has raised 300 million to buy a billion, right? Um, and that was probably something I wish I would have done sooner. I think I'd be farther along, not necessarily know where I'd be because, hindsight's 2020. You don't always have a crystal ball of where you're going. But I think wherever I would have been, I think I would have been a lot farther ahead if I would have started that journey um, way back, when I started really getting into this with real estate and business. I still did that. I think that's part of my success and where I'm at today. I would always reach out to people and try to pick their brain. But I think when you get into the rooms that people have done something way bigger than you, I think that's you get a lot of value out of that, and that's truly you can't put a price on that.
It's the gap in the gain at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, and I had a mentor of mine. I kind of got a little lucky, to be honest with you. I met my first mentor when I was 14, and my cocky self, not realizing this guy at the time had owned 18 companies, he asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. I had a little mowing business I started when I was 10, went out and knocked doors when I was 10 years old, and saved up enough in the first season to buy a riding lawnmower when I was 11. And so, I thought I was hot, and I looked at him, oh, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, Cody. And he goes, oh, really? And he constantly, even now to this day, we've stayed in touch over the last, almost 20 years. And he still tells me, he's like, man, if you don't have somebody that's further ahead than you where you can close the gap, you need to get it as quickly as possible. Like, never, ever, ever be the biggest guy in your network. Always find somebody that has more, and then close the gap. And then if you keep doing that, you'll get where you want to go eventually. So, great point there. Love that.
Yeah, that's really, when I brought on my COO, I really talked to him about that. And that's a big reason why I brought him on to the team. And he has grown a business, and he's sold it, and he sold his business for 8 figures. And, we want to sell our business for 8 figures, right? Bought it for 7, multiple sevens, but hey, we want to sell it for 8, and he's done that. And that's a big reason why I brought him on, because he's done that. And that's kind of a prerequisite when I was interviewing COOs is, hey, what have you done? Where have you taken a company? And have you exited that company? And he did all that. Different industry, but at the end of the day, he's gone through that process, and he's gone through a lot of pain in his journey that ideally I'm going to hire away from me, because he's already experienced that, so I don't have to experience that quicker. Also, it's called time collapsing, right? He's done that, have him come into our business, and we're going to time collapse our success. So, that's a big reason, I brought him on. And at the end of the day, though, what the part of that is, hey, being the dumbest guy in the room. That's my goal ever, wherever I go, is being the dumbest guy in the room. And right now we're going through this process of trying to bring on a recruiter, right? Well, am I going to just bring on someone and say, hey, you're going to be my recruiter, and this is how I would do it, and this is how you should do it, or go chat GPT it? No, how about you go, or how about I go and bring on a recruiter who's already a freaking stud and can give me KPIs that he accomplishes month in and month out, and have him show me how to do it to get us to that 1,000 agents. And that's what we're doing right now. So if I bring someone on to the organization that I'm teaching them how to do their job, then I'm failing. That means I'm smarter than that person. I'm better than that person. And that's all that we're only going to get as far as me, because I will then become the bottleneck. But when I bring on someone that is 10x my capabilities in that niche, that specialty, whether it's recruiting, whether it's operations, whether it's sales, right? Sales is a whole different, part of our business. That's when we're really going to be able to grow. Marketing, right? Am I going to try to go figure out Facebook ads myself, or should I align with a company that, blows it up? I need to learn enough to keep them honest, to make sure they're not, dragging me through the coals and giving us all the terminology we hear, CAC and, ROAS and all that. But, and me just think, oh, that sounds good. No, I need to know that it's actually working or not. So you got to educate yourself, but really bring on people that are way better than you, faster, stronger, better, right?
You got. Well, Schuyler, we're running out of time. So where can people go and connect with you for more if they want to learn what you're working on, learn more about you specifically? Where can they go for that to connect with you for more?
Yeah, we're in a mission right now to every day turn people's dreams into reality. That's one of our mottos at 4-Star Homes. A lot of our customers come from up north. They retired in the state of Florida. And, we have a big, big goal in 4-Star Homes and where we're going. And, we're looking to increase our sales, agents to 1,000, right? So, if you're interested or looking to partner up, you can call me directly. My cell phone's, 813-830-1200. That's my cell phone. You can hit me up there. Sky's the limit on Instagram. But if you want to check out more about our business, 4starhomes.com is our website.
There you go, folks. Well, all million of you will now give Schuyler a call, and he'll realize never to give his cell phone on a podcast ever again. I'm just
Bring
kidding.
it on, baby. Let's do it.
I love it. I like to make people nervous sometimes. We do have 1 million listeners on every platform, but 16,000 on YouTube is kind of our primary audience. But don't worry, they usually text first. We haven't had anybody calling us going, what the hell, man? So
It'll get a
Anyways,
voicemail anyways. I probably won't answer it. I won't
yeah,
recognize it. But, happy to
exactly.
connect with anyone and everyone. Always looking to connect with like-minded individuals, driven individuals, hungry individuals. We feed off of each other. It's like throwing wood on the fire. So love
Yeah.
connecting. Uh, selfishly, my wife and I talk about it every day, and we say, hey, we need to make more friends. Because we got to be in different circles. If we want to get to the next level, we got to get to that level, and that's
Yeah.
connecting with those other people, and that part about being in the room. So happy to connect with anyone. So give me a call.
There you go, folks. Go drop him a follow on Instagram. Check out the website. Show him love. Show him some love from the Investor Fuel family and the Real Estate Pros. Hope you got a ton of value out of this, like I did. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for being here, Schuyler.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.